Hi, I read Bud Not Buddy by Christopher Paul Curtis. This book has won numerous awards, including the John Newbery Medal and the Coretta Scott King Award for Authors. Bud Not Buddy is copyrighted in 1999 and falls under historical fiction. The book contains 245 pages with a lexile of 950. The story is set in Flint and Grand Rapids, Michigan in 1963 during the Great Depression. It was also a time of segregation in America. Bud, the main character, was orphaned at the age of 6 when his mom died. Bud never knew his father, much less his name. The book picks up when Bud is 10 years old and living in an orphanage in Flint, Michigan. Bud keeps all his possessions in his suitcase, which he keeps a very close eye on. The most important items in his suitcase seem to be 1. A picture of his mom as a little girl, 2. Rocks with a variety of different dates written on them, and 3, which seems the most importantly, the flyers that read Herman E. Calloway and his famous band, the Dusky Devastators of the Depression. I'd like to read a part from the book, an excerpt from the book. It says, I remember Mama bringing this flyer with her when she came from working one day. I remember because she got very upset when she put it on the supper table. And she kept looking at it and picking it up and putting it back and moving it around. I was only 6 then, and I couldn't understand why this one got her so upset. She kept 4 others that were a lot like it in her dressing table, but this one really got her jumpy. The only difference I could see between the blue one and the others was the others didn't say anything about Flint on them. I remember this blue one too, because it wasn't too long after she brought it home that I knocked on Mama's bedroom door, then found her. So because Bud saw how sad his mother got when she stared at these flyers, he just knew Herman E. Calloway was his father. So Bud gets news he is going to go live with the Amos family, who has a 12-year-old son, Todd, who they call Toddy. Todd makes Buddy's life miserable to the point where Bud is forced to sleep locked in a dark, dirty shed. Bud couldn't take another day with the Amoses and runs away in search of his father, the jazz player Herman E. Calloway. Bud believes his father lives in Grand Rapids, and he's not going to let anything or anyone stop him from getting there. Throughout his journey, Bud faces many obstacles, such like finding food, finding places to sleep, and dodging cops and jumping trains, and finally, an old grumpy man who has no interest in what Bud has to say. However, through his quest to find his father, it's the kindness of complete strangers that helps Bud through his journey. Bud's mother once told him in the book, Bud, when one door closes, another one always opens. And I believe Bud held those words close to his heart, and that's what kept him going. I rate this book a 5-star. It teaches you to go for what you believe in, tenacity, and to have strength through difficult times. It has adventure and humor. It was one of those books that was hard to put down because you wanted to see if Bud gets out of the situations that he keeps finding himself in. I think it's a great book for 10-year-olds, 11, 12. I say this because when my 7th grade students saw this book on my desk, they were so excited and they were saying, we read that in 5th grade. Are you going to read it to us? And they were begging me to read it to them again. So I knew this was an important book just by the impact it had on my students, 2 years down, 3 years down the road after they had already had it read to them. So I highly recommend this book. And so I would go out, if I were you, I'd go pick it up and share it with someone, in that age group, 10, 11, 12, and see if they get the same reaction that my students did. I bet they will.